ночью кради свет. Звезды погромче включай, заживших ран нет, только мокрый балкон и чай. Там, где ты сидишь один, под холодной пылью алмаза, отовсюду уходи. Здесь омерзительно грязно, омерзительно грязно, омерзительно весело, омерзительно грязно. И мы будем бежать друг другу, вокруг не видя ничего. Мы протянем наши руки к небу, нам будет необычайно хорошо. Уединимся в поле из маков, найдем гармонию в тишине. Лживое спокойствие, мир одинаков, хрустальная эпоха, гниющая на дне.
You are listening to This Week in Clown World with Ben and Hobbs, so sit back, relax, take your black pill, and enjoy the show.
Well, howdy do, friends. It is once again time for another This Week in Clown World with Ben and Hobbs. He's Ben, I'm Hobbs, you're in Clown World, and we're going to talk about the events of the weekend. Well, the last couple of weeks, and boy, howdy, what a couple of weeks it's been. We've got quite a few things to go over. Once again, government corruption and incompetence is at the top of the list of stupid things going on in the news. We also have Trump's triumphant return to Butler, Pennsylvania, with one of the best...
The return of the king.
Yes, the return of the king. The return of the God Emperor himself. Coming back to Butler, Pennsylvania. Quite possibly with one of the best jokes of the campaign season. We have the unfortunate events taking place in the Deep South, an area that I know fairly well, which is causing a lot of consternation among people. There's a lot of fake stories, real human tragedy, lots of stuff going on around there. And of course, we're teetering on the brink of World War III, thanks to our greatest ally. So, yeah, let's get into it. What do you want to hit first?
The Trump thing. Did you watch it?
I caught the end of it. Caught the live stream on Twitter, which was pretty intense. But I did read that he started off the rally with, like I said, possibly the best joke of the campaign season, where he comes out on stage, everybody's cheering and everything, and then he gets everybody quieted down, and he goes, "Anyway, like I was saying," and turns to his right, and there's that immigration chart that popped up when he got shot. So he basically just made the joke of starting the speech right over where it left off 4 months ago, which to me is just, it's like peak Donald Trump.
Yeah, I was traveling, so I missed the speech or part of it. So I might be a little behind on stuff for last week as on vacation, but you know, it sounds like you kept up on all of it.
As best I could.
And maybe Simon will pop in We heard from him earlier, I take it, but he may or may not make it.
Yeah, I sent him the link. We'll see if he gets it and pops in with the chat. If not, we can probably pad this out on our own.
Yeah. Well, political news. The debate too. That was between our last shows because we didn't meet last week. So, kind of mixed feelings on who the winner was, depending on who you talk to, obviously.
Mixed feelings. You've got people who witnessed the obvious and people who are coping, seething, and in utter denial of the obvious. There was only one winner, and it was J.D. Vance by a country mile.
I think the real loser was the American public, that those two weren't the presidential candidates, maybe. I mean, some of you might be big Trump fans, but it seems like that'd be a lot better direction if those were our two options instead of Harris and Trump.
Well, I will say that as much as I have been enjoying Trump, 2024 Trump is not 2015,
Way
2016
different.
Trump. And it has been 8 years, and he is an old man to begin with, and now he's 8 years older. So he's got the weight of a previous, administration, 4 years of an administration, and about 10 years of being dogpiled with the entire weight of the United States government on him. So I can forgive the guy for slowing down a little bit. J.D. Vance, though, I think is the future of the Republican Party. He's not Trump, and that could be a good thing. He is razor sharp. He seems to have a photographic memory. He's my age. He's a few months younger than I am, which to me is like, wow, what the fuck have I been doing with my life?
Well, and there's some people that are saying J.D. Vance was handpicked by Trump and the Trump family because Vance is a bit of a political outsider,
Yeah.
He didn't come up through the farm system or anything. He wrote a book, self-made millionaire, and got into politics. Some people, the conspiracy I've seen going around is that Trump may even step down in his presidency at some point due to age, and he wanted somebody that would carry on his legacy, and that person was J.D. Vance.
Well, I don't know if I would subscribe to that much. I think that Trump's ego is a bit much to allow a step down like that. He's only got one term left if he wins, when he wins. And once he's done with that, he's done, and he can ride off into the sunset. Of course, him being him, he'll probably play political kingmaker for the rest of his life and do the endorsement thing. And hopefully he is a little more tactful about it than Barack Obama, who did 2 terms, got out of office, and bought a big house like 3 blocks from the White House so that he could stay in D.C. and politically maneuver behind the scenes.
Went to a bunch of Diddy parties.
Yeah, I went to a bunch of Diddy parties. That's another thing in the news that we can talk about. But so we got a full plate for tonight. But yeah, it's it'll be interesting to see. I think that Trump's bombastic personality, his sort of larger than life mannerisms and talking with his hands and being all over the place, I think that somebody like J.D. Vance is a good foil to that, because he seems to be the sort of guy that has measured responses. He doesn't let his emotions dictate how he comes across, and we saw that on the debate. He was also in a 3-on-1 debate with Tim Walz and the 2 ridiculous embarrassments of moderators from ABC News, and rather than get flustered like Trump did and let kind of his ego take charge, he very calmly was like, listen, these are the facts, and you're wrong, and laid everything out in a way that hopefully I mean, I know it's
Well, at
probably
one
not
point
gonna,
I saw a clip. He was debating the moderators. It's like, what the fuck is this about?
and they cut his mic and very condescendingly he was like, so the rules were that the moderators were not going to fact check. And that was very, very clearly a dig at the moderators of the last debate with Trump and Harris, where they were constantly like real time fact checking Trump on the spot. Even though they weren't facts, they were just, interjecting partisan talking points. But they tried it, right? They're like, actually, the Haitians in Springfield, Ohio have, huh? What?
Actually,
Actually, the Haitians in Springfield, Ohio have legal status. And he's like, whoa, hold up. Yeah, there's a thing called a CBP1 app where, and he laid it all out, and she's like, thank you for describing the legal process. It's like, you bitch, that you,
yeah.
it's like when you have somebody who's complaining about GMO crops, like genetically modified organisms in their food, and they say, I don't want GMOs in my food, and then some fucking smartass comes out and they're like, actually, have you ever eaten a red delicious apple? Because human beings invented the red delicious apple. It's like, you fucking shyster. You know damn well what I mean when I say GMO crops. I don't mean something that's been crossbred over hundreds of generations to be a slightly different variety of an apple. I mean shit like goats that have had the genes of spiders spliced into them to make synthetic fibers that you can make body armor out of their milk. That's the type of GMO shit I'm talking about. I'm talking about glyphosate resistant crops. I'm talking about Roundup Ready corn that poisons the bugs that try to eat it because it's been spliced with the DNA of a specific deep sea squid. That's what I mean when I say GMO. And when Vance is out there talking about the Haitian illegal migrants, he's talking about people that pulled up an app on their smartphone, put in their bio information that maybe it's true, maybe they just made some shit up, and then that basically acts as a passport for them to get into the country. So is it legal? Maybe it is, but is it the letter of the law versus the spirit of the law? And it's definitely not in the spirit of the law.
And this story kind of disappeared pretty quick. The thing out of Arizona where we let 120,000 people that weren't citizens vote in the election. Did you see that one?
Yeah, the leaked phone call between Katie Hobbs, no relation, and the Secretary of State of Arizona.
That vanished fast. It was in the news cycle for like half a day.
Yeah, because the margin of error of the governor's race between her and Kari Lake was like 3,000 votes or some ridiculously minuscule number.
Yeah. And just gone. I haven't seen it. Have you seen anything about it since that leak?
No, but if I was Kari Lake, I'd be filing some type of a lawsuit, a FOIA request.
I know. You hope that they're following up on it. I mean, that seems like a big deal. I mean, sure, if they want to fuck up their local election by letting those people vote in it, fine. But a presidential election, you can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah,
but it's just gone.
But the thing is like in a presidential election, there's a down ballot as well. So
yeah,
if
they want to fuck up their state, they could say in their state, yeah, we're letting illegal immigrants vote in, city council, blah, 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 whatever. Yeah. But there's guidelines for the presidential election. And that story came out. And what was she quoted saying? Like, we can't let this get out. It'll throw questions into everything.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Will, you dumb bitch.
She said something along the lines of it'll throw fuel on the fire of all of their conspiracy theorists. It's like, no, it's not going to throw fuel on the fire of conspiracy theories. You're literally saying that something is fucky. So, yeah.
And story's gone. So that makes you wonder how much that happened everywhere else, too. They say all these J6ers were conspiracy theorists, and then something like this pops up.
Yeah, well, they say that I need more conspiracy theories because they all came true. So I need some new ones because all my old ones came true.
But then back to steer us back to that debate too. They didn't really ask Tim Walz any of the questions that have been popping up about him, like what he was doing in China.
30 times.
Was he or wasn't he there during Tiananmen Square?
Yeah.
He's probably driving a tank around.
Yeah, he had some funny gaffes too, or maybe they weren't gaffes. He said that he was friends
Just
with
the
school
faces
shooters.
he was making.
He has no poker face at all. If they put this guy in any kind of a position for a negotiation or any type of diplomacy with a foreign leader, especially someone who's a smooth operator like Vladimir Putin or Xi Jinping, if he's in the room, he's going to give the entire game away just with the goofy Elmer Fudd looking face of his.
And there was a bunch of memes of floating, or just comparing the faces he's made to like Grumpy Cat or whatever. But they didn't ask him any of the hard questions. I missed the school shooter thing. What did he do there?
Okay, so one of the moderators asked him, like, in the past, he was against renewing the assault weapons ban, and since, in the last few years, he's changed his mind, and now he's for it. And they're like, what happened? And he says, well, I met with the families of the Sandy Hook shooting, and I became friends with school shooters. And he meant that he became friends with the victims and families of school shooting victims. That's obvious. I mean, he obviously didn't
that's just a
friends with school.
Flub up.
But it's hilarious.
Stupid, but
it's stupid and it's hilarious. And then after that, I saw a picture of him hugging his equally weird and flamboyant son, and it says it had something like, when Tim Walz said he's become friends with school shooters, it wasn't a flub, it was a promise, or something, like insinuating that his son is going to be a school shooter. Oh no, we lost Ben. Okay, well, I'll just keep on going then. So, so anyways, the thing about Tim Walz that I find to be interesting, aside from his goofy faces and goofy expressions, is there's a media image that's being cultivated around him as this sort of grandfatherly, like, oh, he's this kind, rural, kind of, good old boy hayseed, just, kind of a fun, quirky kind of guy, right? And that was also the same image that Joe Biden had for quite a lot of his later career. I remember something like 12 or 15 years ago, I was talking with some friends of mine. It was like, you know what? I don't want Joe Biden to be in charge of anything, but he seems like a great guy to sit around and have a couple of drinks with. And that's just because Joe Biden was kind of a outside figure. He was there, but he was doing his own thing and he wasn't in the spotlight. And what we've seen from him being in the spotlight over the last 4 years of this presidential administration is that he is actually not the kind, goofy, grandfatherly elder statesman that the media portrayed him as. He is a mean, bitter, selfish, cantankerous old bastard. And I think that as Tim Walz gets thrust more and more into the spotlight, he will come out as being very similar, but in different ways. I think that he's kind of he's a grumpy, bumbling buffoon who is also very keyed in on communism. Some of his students and other administrators in the school that he worked at said that while they were visiting China, he was collecting Mao's little red book. So this is a guy who he's a communism enjoyer. He seems to be he seems
a casual communism enjoyer.
I would go past casual enjoyment, and I would say that he's possibly a true believer. And since he doesn't seem to be all that bright, he would probably also fall into the useful idiot category as well. So this image of him as being this like grandfatherly, goofy, kind of quirky, fun old guy, I think is a completely fabricated and put on persona of his that the media, I don't even think the media constructed around him. I think that this is some type of a focus tested persona
Well,
because he's
how the hell does this guy get weaponized into a communism enjoyer growing up in central Nebraska? I mean, how the fuck does that happen? I wonder.
I don't know. I mean, because he's from a pretty rural part out west, isn't he?
He's from Valentine, Nebraska, which is up in the sand hills of Nebraska. Which, if you're not familiar with it, it's out in the middle of fucking nowhere between an Indian reservation and nothing.
Yeah, Valentine.
I mean, it's a nice town. It's a nice town, but it's not like he was attending communist study groups in high school or anything. I mean, it had to be, I don't know. It's so bizarre.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, we got Simon.
I guess, yeah, Simon showed up. We got a couple more domestic things. Let me pop him in here. Do you want to jump over to Israel? Hold on. I'm bringing Simon up here. Simon, you there?
Hi there, guys. How you doing?
Hey, Simon. So we've been talking about domestic. We also wanted to hit on the Israel situation. Or is there any other international things that we should be talking about?
Well, we have to look at Ukraine a bit, I guess, because Biden is going to the Ramstein conference on October the 12th. And this is the first time that all the heads of government, as opposed to the foreign ministers or the defense ministers, are meeting for this. And it looks like they're going to try and kind of Trump-proof the support for Ukraine. And Zelensky's been mouthing off about that today, saying how he's hoping that it's going to secure long-term support, and he's going to present his victory plan to all the heads of government. And supposedly,
boy, if they give money to Ukraine without doing anything for the hurricane, they're fucking themselves big time.
It's going to be billions per month.
Yeah, how are we giving billions per month and we can barely come up with 170 million for the hurricane?
It looks like the Tampa Bay area could get hit by level 3 hurricane on Tuesday, and Biden's going to fly to Germany on Friday. I mean, how freaking I don't give a shit about America is that?
Well, we also have a nice little quote from Lindsey Graham. If you will give me just a slight second here to pull it up so that I don't completely lose it. So Lindsey Graham said, quote, "I've been going all over South Carolina. Like most people, I haven't slept much. But look what's going on in Israel. We have to help our friends to keep the war over there from coming here." I'm like, what a disgusting, out of touch piece of shit. Like,
isn't that his constituency? Where's he from?
South Carolina. He's the senator of South Carolina. Right. So, I mean, not only do you have Israel first, but you also have that ridiculous old canard of we have to fight the war over there so it doesn't come here, because Palestine is so well known for their transatlantic force projection.
He literally said that. He literally said, we have to fight them over there so we don't have to fight them over here.
Yes.
But Trump said Biden,
that doesn't even make any sense.
Biden's making a mistake by holding the Israelis back on hitting the Iranian nuke facilities. He said we should go for those first.
I don't understand.
I mean, I can understand when they were using that argument about Afghanistan, because you could say, well, they flew 2 fucking planes into our skyscrapers. We got to keep them from doing that again, so we're fighting them there. I don't understand how.
You mean the Saudis did that?
Yeah,
yeah,
Saudi nationals, and maybe.
But how can they even wedge the Russia-Ukraine thing into we got to fight them there, but before they come here? What is Russia
Well, this is Israel.
done? Or Israel? I mean,
Yeah.
what is Hezbollah even done? Doesn't make any sense.
Well, nothing
They're the
yet.
Well,
Nothing yet. But it's considering that our border's been wide
They're
open, who knows who's crossed?
yeah. So you letting on that maybe he knows something. He let us see behind the screen a little bit.
I would say that if he did do something like that, it was completely short-sighted, because the second that the U.S. gets involved in any type of meaningful way, if he knows something we don't know about possible fifth columns in this country, then the second that America gets involved, then those fifth columns get activated. So what he's saying is a moot point if those people are already here.
Mm-hmm.
Guy's a fucking
What a
warmongering idiot.
Yeah, I don't understand. I mean, how fucked up is South Carolina? They keep sending that guy back. I guess they don't. He
They
doesn't.
keep on re-electing him. I mean, they know what he's. It's unbelievable.
Right. And I don't want to be callous and I don't want to be mean, but the people of South Carolina, if there are any people in South Carolina that are hearing my words right now, if you keep putting this man in office, you deserve what you get. There is no greater constituency in the United States that contributes more manpower to the U.S. military than the men of the Deep South. That is a fact. There are more military bases in the Deep South, the former Confederate States, than anywhere else in this country. That is also a fact. So when you keep electing somebody like Lindsey Graham, who is a blood-gargling psychopath who is keen on sending your sons and daughters and husbands and wives and aunts and uncles and fathers and mothers overseas to fight somebody else's war, you are essentially electing an arsonist to be the fire chief. Because when you say, I support the troops, and then you send them to war, you are lighting fires because you support the fire department. That's not how it works.
Yeah, I mean, there's a major issue. I mean, too fucking bad, Ukraine and Israel. We got issues to take care of here at home. I mean, that should take precedence, number one, to rebuild that whole area. And if you look, I saw a map today. It showed lights from space. So that, I mean, that area looks like fucking North Korea on the, you ever seen that?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no lights there at all. It's a huge swath that's wiped out.
Right. There are entire towns that no longer exist. They are just mud flats now.
Well, then I saw there's a transformer shortage because we've been sending our fucking our surplus transformers to Ukraine. There's been a shell company buying up transformers in the States and sending them to Ukraine. Jeez. And I know all about the transformer shortage being on city council. It's been that way for at least, I mean, it was bad before the Ukraine issue broke out, but it's been really bad lately.
Right.
And we're just buying onesie twosies to replace shit around town. I can't imagine trying to get enough for, I mean, you're talking thousands. Yeah. You know, if we can't get one or two, and now we're gonna need 1,000, and they've shipped them all to Ukraine, that area is gonna be fucked for a while.
Right. You know, not to mention that this isn't just something that you can churn out of your local machine shop. Mm-hmm. It requires like tons of rare earth minerals and all sorts of crazy shit goes into those transformers.
It's a special. I mean, there's only a couple companies that make them. You can get some from China if you're willing to risk that shit. Who knows what China's slipping in transformers before they ship them over after what happened with Israel.
Yeah. You know what? I'm a bit embarrassed to not ask Simon. You're in Florida, obviously. Are you okay? Were you in the path of this? I'm embarrassed that I didn't even think to ask.
The path of the one that's going to hit us on Tuesday,
or the one that just passed.
Well, the one that passed went straight up the west coast, so it only hit like Big Bend. So I had a vast amount of wind debris out to my neighbors, and people on my street got flooded because there was a drain that got blocked, or something like 5 houses flooded or something. Quite a few houses in my community have actually been flooded. I've been driving around, and there's a lot of people, like everything outside on the street, their carpets and stuff, their toilets backed up for one reason or another. And some people who have never been flooded before, they built supermarkets, concreted over everything, not done adequate runaway facilities for the water,
Right.
and they got freaking flooded. So that's just like a massive failure of kind of zoning and water management. I mean, that those people should be suing the hell out of the city and county for allowing some of those developments without.
And, you know, I'll tell you what, you know, dip into my city council experience. We've been requiring people to put those retention ponds in for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And holy shit, do they bitch and moan about it. But then we get a massive rainstorm and hey, they work as intended.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you can't really get away from that. So they put in this huge supermarket, no retention pond. I didn't see where the water goes at all. There don't appear to be any drains or gutters or anything, right? And lo and behold, like everyone around that vast slab of concrete got their houses flooded. So,
Yep.
I mean, just, you know, somebody got paid off for that approval because it generated like an extra 20 car parking spots or something, and on top of the 1,000 they already had.
Well, that's what happens actually. I mean, the developer would have went and bitched to a couple people on their city or county level
And paid them off
boards. Yeah.
like $5,000 each. I mean, these people get paid off real cheap.
Sometimes you don't have to do that. It seems like they just bitch at some of these people and they change their mind on something practical like that. But anyways, you said the next one though got you in its sights, huh? So
The next one going at the moment, it's like 7 out of the 10 spaghetti models or whatever show it going directly into Tampa Bay, which if that goes directly into the mouth of Tampa Bay, I mean, that could put Tampa and Clearwater and St. Petersburg just completely underwater. That could be
and they haven't had that happen in, what did I see, 3 decades or more maybe.
Yeah, when there was the Republican convention, what was that, like around 2005 or something? It was forecast to go into the mouth of Tampa Bay, but instead it did a hard right turn and went into Port Charlotte instead, which is about 200 miles to the south. And that just obliterated Port Charlotte. And they were like, wow, Tampa really dodged a bullet. If that had gone in like as like a 4 right into the mouth of Tampa Bay, that whole region would have been 10 feet underwater, which would have cost billions. I mean, but there we're talking about, you know, a real major city, like going to like New York or something, right? It's not some kind of humding.
I mean, that's a huge area there in Tampa. I was, you know, that could even, Orlando's not even far from there, so it could even swing and smack Orlando too.
It's looking like it's going to go into Tampa and straight across the state, hitting Orlando on the way.
Yeah. Oof.
Yeah, because Orlando's only, 70 miles?
And for people not familiar with Florida, I mean, the whole place is about 12 feet above sea level, it seems.
The highest point on the Georgia state border is 78 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the highest point on the Georgia.
I mean, Asheville in that area had issues because, you know, it's flooding the ravines, but there were still high areas. I mean, you get that much rain in Florida, you get a 12-foot, like, what were they saying, 12 to 20 foot storm surges?
Well, it would have to be a 4 to get like 20 foot. At the moment, they're saying it's going to be the borderline speed between a 2 and a 3. But they said the storm that went into Asheville was going to be a 2, and it made land as like a 4.5.
Yeah. And, you know, there's been conspiracies floating around that. Like the government developed some hurricane model that they weren't letting the public see, but insurance companies have access to it. Did you see that one?
No, I haven't seen that.
No, there have been a lot of conspiracy theories about weather modification.
Those ones seemed like hooey.
Well, those people didn't get warned they were going to get 24 inches of rain in like a day and a half, right?
Yeah.
No, they didn't. But supposedly, I guess the insurance companies knew. But who knows? We'll see what comes up.
What good does that do the insurance company? If they can't steer the hurricane away, you know, it just means you get a day's extra notice you're going to go bust.
And while I'm seeing it, it looks like if you're watching this on YouTube, you better follow us on Rumble. I've seen they're not getting notifications, and I don't think it even lets people know we have new videos up on YouTube anymore. We got like a shadow ban going on YouTube. So come like and follow us over on Rumble. You shouldn't have those issues. But yeah, so thanks, Simon. So I guess are you booking flights or what?
What you mean, like Muhammad for going to heaven?
No, for someplace higher than 12 feet.
Yeah. Well, the apex of my roof will be higher than 12 feet. I might need to strap myself to it. Apparently.
Make sure you got an escape hatch in your attic. You don't want to end up like those guys.
No, I do actually. I rebuilt this house, and it has been built fantastically strongly. So I've been through a 2 and a 3 before, but the issue is whether or not it kind of hits. It's not going to be a full moon. Whether
It's
or not
on high tide. Yeah.
Yeah, high tide makes a big difference. And then it's looking real bad because you've got Tampa Bay has a lot of rivers feeding into it, and all of those back up. And
they're probably still full from the last one.
Well, this is the problem.
That drains out for weeks.
It's going to rain all day Sunday and all day Monday before even the tropical storm force winds arrive. So the ground was already saturated. We have 2 days of rain before the hurricane hits. The ground will be absolutely saturated. So the runoff will be huge. And then if all the rivers back up as well, I mean, it looks really bad, really bad.
Now, back to the Asheville thing. They said that was 1,000-year rain levels that area has never seen.
Yeah, some of those towns 24, 25 inches. I saw one had 25.35 inches in 24 hours. I mean, that's kind of like almost like, American records.
And it's a very hilly area. So, people would build their towns where the flat spots were.
Everything flows into the valleys, right?
Yep, and that's where the towns were.
Even if
that's
you're
where you build your town.
3,000 foot up, if you've got this kind of like bucket all trying to pour out down this valley, that's what they got, like, 10-meter mud waves suddenly hitting them, just taking everything off their foundations.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely just one of the worst disasters that we've seen in modern history.
What's your guys' guess on the head count for fatalities? I reckon it's going to be 2,000-3,000.
Well, right now the government's saying that it's about 232.
That's
which
absolute bullshit. There's got reefers, refrigerated shipping containers full of dead bodies that are unidentified. The last number I heard for Asheville, between the morgue and the town hospital, was 900 unidentified bodies just in Asheville.
Right. And there's some things that we got a guy in our group chat who's in eastern North Carolina. He wasn't affected by it, nearly as bad as anybody else, but he's saying that, there's obviously the government numbers are bullshit, but a lot of what you're hearing, secondhand hearsay and whatnot is also bullshit. He says there's just it's so chaotic that nobody really knows what's actually going on the ground.
One. The city morgue and the general hospital must have a body count, right?
Yeah.
But Asheville City Police said they had 500 body bags and they used them all.
Yeah. Man.
That was just the police department. Then the fire department had body bags as well. So, I mean, that puts you into the hundreds of dead bodies.
Well, then you're going to get into missing. I mean, that water was moving fast, you'll never find them.
Loads of missing people as well.
And they have no idea. I mean, it's not like they can call anybody. I mean, who knows? I think you're right, Simon. It's going to be massive.
Yeah. There's going to be people that are probably buried under feet of mud that will never be found.
Never be found.
Mm.
Yeah.
It is a mess, but
it is an absolute travesty, though, because they've got the 82nd Airborne at what is it, Fort Liberty X Fort Bragg, right?
It'll always be Bragg to me.
And they fucking wouldn't release them or any of the helicopters because they're all on standby to deploy to fucking defend Israel.
Right, and I'm in some military Facebook groups, and there are people in the 82nd and in the 101st at Fort Campbell. You got people down at the 3rd ID and Fort Benning and Fort Stewart. You got Fort Gordon. They are
in
pissed.
Fayetteville. Who's there in Fayetteville?
Fayetteville. That's Bragg.
That's Bragg as well, right?
Yeah, but all of these people that are in the area that have the assets that could easily go in and render aid, they are pissed. They want to get in there and help.
They've got a lot of shit on alert for what's going on. I mean, they canceled the Naval Submarine Ball, which is like the one big event for every submarine crew, every year. Hardly ever been canceled. It's been canceled.
101st have already been sent to Cyprus and Israel. They sent 4 C-17s from the 101st. So how many guys can you fit with just nothing but a backpack and a rifle on a C-17?
Oh, shit.
For a long haul across the ocean, you could probably fit about 100 to 150. We packed about 225 when we were going from Kuwait into Iraq because you could get.
Right. So if you did 150, 4 of those, that's 1 battalion. So they sent a battalion already of the 101st.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, I can't believe how long these fucks have been itching to do something. This is the closest they've got to doing something in Iran in my recent memory. How is this the closest that you
take out their nuke facilities? Is fucking crazy. What is he talking about, right? and now we've got fucking Jared Kushner's suddenly back in the mix again. We were told that Ivanka and Jared they were out forever. Not only is he mouthing off on give the Israelis everything they want, now's the time to take all these fuckers out, like region wide. He's mouthing off on Twitter, but now apparently he's unofficially on the transition team, and he's picking and choosing people. Can you imagine the number of big noses and small hat wearing people that he's sticking in through the transition team?
Maybe knowing how big of a fuck up that he was in the last administration, do you think that that he's actually got any type of pull, or do you think that this is Trump just like taking his crayon picture, be like, "Oh, that's great, buddy. Let's put it on the fridge right here."
The co-chair of the transition team is on air with Fox saying that he's getting names from Jared. And he was praising Jared for how helpful he was.
Take those names, take that sheet, crumple it up, throw it in the trash.
Well, you fucking make sure all those people are investigated for fucking counterintelligence purposes right as soon as they're on a fucking list with Jared's name at the top.
Yeah. I don't know. That guy he's too slick by half, I think.
That's why when the whole Russian thing, these podcasters are getting foreign meddling, and then you got the APAC banner in the background. It's like,
you want to talk about foreign meddling?
How is that not foreign meddling?
Unless they just want to out and say that Israel's the 51st state. But
who's the vassal here?
I think that this is the Israeli tail wagging the American dog.
Yeah, at this point, I'm not sure that we aren't the vassal of Israel and not vice versa.
The satrapy.
Yeah, I mean, we got vassals under vassals.
In the top levels of FEMA are quite incredible as well.
The what? Sorry.
Oh yeah. You guys, I got to find the picture. I'll send it to you.
What did you say, Simon? I missed it.
The overrepresentation of people from a certain.
Oh, okay. Say less. We don't want to get in too much trouble.
Exactly, of a certain faith. Right. It's pretty incredible.
Did
you look through the leadership?
Do you have something, Hobbs?
Caucus.
Yeah, just send it to you, Ben. So yeah, go ahead and put up the new director of public relations at.
Oh no!
Yeah,
it's not even close to not being. I mean, who wants to guess?
The new director of public relations at FEMA is. Ta-da!
Rothenberg.
Rothenberg,
Holy cow! Is she? She has a look about her.
You've got to look at like the deputy leader and her husband and all these other people. They're all involved as well, right?
I'm just saying that that she has a look about her. It's very on the nose.
Did Trump ever cancel handing the whole country over to FEMA on the 18th of March 2020?
What?
Has that ever Trump's national emergency declaration that handed everything to FEMA on the 18th of March 2020, has that ever been rescinded?
I don't think so, because I don't even know what you're talking about right now. Please elaborate.
Trump declared a national emergency on the 18th of March 2020. It's been Trump national emergency March 2020.
Yeah, Ben's looking it up right now.
Yeah.
So this is for the COOF, right?
For the coup,
I see the declaration, but it doesn't have a timeline on it.
Country to FEMA control.
So
if you wanted to be of a certain faith in charge of any one government agency, it would be the one constitutionally in charge of the whole country, I would suspect.
Well, she's just the new head of public relations. So
but
all of the
you got to look at all of the family connections.
Well, I mean, to get off on a bit of a tangent, I was on vacation and I went to vacation in northern Wisconsin. We went to a Packers game and that place looked like it'd be fun up there. There was a lot of upper income white people that hang out up there from Chicago. So there might have been some over-representation of the Jewish faith up there. And they just kind of live, I talked with a lot of them, those upper income white people, they're just living in a completely different America than we are. It's just bizarre. And, driving around in Wisconsin, you would see farmers or middle income people, Trump signs, big old house on the shores of the lake, Harris Wall sign, almost 100%.
Yeah.
And, it just goes to show that upper income knows what's good for them. They're not there by being dumb. They know the status quo and what Harris Walls brings. So Trump scares the hell out of them.
Well, frankly, I don't know why. I mean, both. The big issue we've got is at the moment there's no debt ceiling. There's no debt limit, right? Until what is it, January the 15th or something?
Yeah.
The CR they.
Yeah, so that's gonna get rolled over, isn't it, by Johnson?
Actually, they set it to expire on December 23rd, so they can pass the longer one. I mean, Massey exposed that one. They have it 2 days before Christmas, so everybody just says yes, so they can go home and for Christmas with their families.
Continuing resolution? Are you talking about the debt?
Yep, the continuing resolution. Sorry,
the continuing resolution is December 20th.
20th. Yep.
20th. Yeah, but the debt ceiling, I think, is January the 15th.
Okay.
There's no debt ceiling. So on the 1st of October, they issued 204 billion of new, and they drew down 75 billion that they had with the Federal Reserve. So the spending is completely out of control. The debt chart went vertical on the 1st of October.
I mean, there's absolutely no situation where that ever gets paid down. I mean, we're in clown world goofy land at this point when it comes to the money.
Debt servicing is $1 trillion a year now.
Yeah, but I always loved it when I see this. Who in the hell is the debt to?
Well, a lot of it is to American mutual and pension funds.
Mm-hmm.
You see, back in 1913, a group of people got together and they hung out with the Rothschilds.
You see these memes?
Did we lose Ben? Oh no. Yeah, I think we lost Ben. Yeah, but he's gonna be talking about the memes where they say like, oh, the whole world owes like $575 quadrillion in debt, and it's like, well, who holds that debt? If every country in the world is in debt, who are they in debt to? And it's like the central banks. It's all made up money. It's all fake numbers, right?
I'm not sure how much of that you can offset. I mean, that's adding in, credit card debt and car loans and mortgages and commercial loans and everything, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, there's that, but I'm not talking about individual debt. I'm talking about like, sovereign debt, government debt. Yeah. That's the question. It's like if these governments, if every single government on planet Earth owes money to somebody, who do they owe that money to? And you got the idea of one country buying another country's debt instruments so that it's basically a loan or whatever. Well, if this country owes that country money and that country owes a third country money, then a lot of this can be offset. But in a way, every single dollar that's issued by the central bank to a sovereign government comes with a certain amount of interest attached. So you will never be able to actually pay off any of your debt because any money that your government accrues comes with debt already attached. Right?
I don't know about that. I mean, well, the GNI of the United States is about 34 trillion a year. So, I mean, I guess you could put a 10% tax on everything. You could have a 10% national sales tax, and you could pay it off in 10 years.
But that doesn't get you elected. We're just fucked beyond repair at this. I mean, we're in uncharted territory. It'd be interesting to see what actually happens, but we haven't really hit on Israel a whole lot and what we can look forward to in the upcoming weeks. Simon,
the Washington Post has said that the Aardvarks are going to whack the Iranians within 48 hours as of 8 or 10 hours ago. So supposedly,
and because we got the anniversary coming up, don't we?
Yeah,
that was the 7th.
They reckon that the Israelis are going to hit the Iranians on October the 7th.
Well, I mean, it would make sense that that's what they're going to pull off.
Yeah, they love their anniversaries of things. The symbology is a big deal for the people in position.
You see the head of CENTCOM was hanging out with Gallant and Bibi today in Israel.
No, what was up with that limp dick response from Iran? Why even shoot anything over if that's all you're going to do? It seems like they shot over a bunch of old rockets that didn't even hit the military base. They hit around the military base.
No, I don't think so. There's been massive censorship on what they actually hit, but supposedly they obliterated the Mossad headquarters and took out the main F-35 base.
Oh no, not the F-35s.
See, you don't see that. I mean, the news I was seeing, and like I said, I'm on vacation, so I might have missed it. But they didn't really. They were painting a picture that Iran didn't really hit much of anything.
No.
They showed a picture of an Israeli military base and all the pockmarks from the rockets around the base that supposedly missed.
Yeah, well, that's quite contested, to be honest. I mean, they're not allowing journalists to wander around and have a look. The first 2 days, all the commercial satellite providers were putting fake clouds over those zones. So it was incredible that companies that had, in theory, nothing to do with Israel were censoring that commercial data.
So what type of damage could Iran do then if Israel decides to start striking? I mean, have we decided if they have nukes or not?
Supposedly they don't have nukes yet, assuming they haven't been given one by the Chinese, the Russians, or the Pakistanis. Pakistanis, I'm sure, would happily sell them some nukes.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and the level of the Israeli strikes, are they going to do something that Iran might decide? All right, well, we're popping one off.
I mean, we're going to find out in less than
Yeah, so I kind of
big
got my
show on Monday.
yeah, I got my timeline kind of condensed when what was that? Was it Thursday or Friday when Iran did those missile strikes? It was like Israel rolls into Lebanon with the ground army. Israel shells Beirut. Hezbollah fires back. Iran fires missiles into Israel. Israel fires missiles into Syria. It's like, what? Are they just like spinning in circles, firing a shotgun, seeing if
Bibi said officially they're now in a 7-front war. He said they had Gaza, they had Lebanon, that's 2, Yemen 3, Syria 4, the West Bank 5, Iraq 6, and Iran 7. So they're in a 7-front war.
And I might just be reading too much into it, but I know that the number 7 is incredibly significant in like Kabbalah. So is there any significance to that, or is it just like a oopsie 7-front war?
Yeah. I mean,
I don't even know what's the outcome for Israel at this point? They wipe out every Muslim on that entire region. I mean, what?
Well, Greater Israel. They seem to be working towards Greater Israel, right?
Which is what they did. I mean, Israel never covered that much of the area, did it?
Well, supposedly it included all of Lebanon.
Yeah, it's like all of Lebanon, the West Bank, parts of Jordan, parts of Syria, Iraq,
Yeah,
Iran, like that whole greater Levant area. They claim
so that's the Zionists. That's the Zionists want to rebuild Greater Israel. Then is that? I mean, I'm just trying to understand why you would want to do this in that region.
and supposedly Netanyahu's got a model of the third temple in his office.
which is
He's got a picture. He's got a picture of Jesus.
The model of the third temple.
Like I said, there's a picture of Jesus.
Well, I don't know. This is just they're going to drag us all into World War III if somebody doesn't get a handle on it. And on one hand, I would say that it's not our problem. Let them do that. But at the same time, it seems like the United States is the only player that's in the room that has any type of sway over them. But then you look at it in the other direction is that the Israeli tail has been wagging the American dog for a very long time. So it's like, are we the player in the room that has sway over them, or is it the other way around?
1 out of 200 shipments then said sorry, gave them that shipment and an extra $8.7 billion.
But everybody in Appalachia gets $750 if they didn't have flood insurance.
And if they've got ID to prove they actually lived there.
Yeah.
A lot of people have lost, everything. They've lost their passport, their insurance certificates, their wallet, everything. They just ran out of their house before it went down to hell.
Yeah. And
So now they're going to get deported.
There was one woman, literally, she was in a car park. She'd just been into the FEMA pop-up center, and they wouldn't give her. She had nothing but the clothes she was standing in. Somebody had driven her to go to the FEMA people, and they wouldn't give her anything because she didn't have a driver's license. And instead, I explained to them, I've lost absolutely everything: my house, my pets, my clothes, my car, everything.
So what these people need to do is just start speaking with a Latin American accent, and they can get everything they need. They get
right. Like we see this at our own southern border, and we see this over in Europe and in the UK, where these people from the third world come and they burn their passports and their documentation at the border, and they're let in and they're given everything. And so we've got
so that they can't be sent back.
Right. But we've got a woman who's obviously from right down the road has had everything lost, and they're like, sorry, we're not going to give you 3 hots and a cot because you don't have your driver's license. Dude, get fucked.
Yeah.
Get fucked. If that's your attitude, you want to spend you want to send $8 billion to Israel. You want to send $200 or 200 billion dollars to Ukraine. You want to tell some woman who's starving with nothing but the wet clothes on her back after her entire life was destroyed that she can't have a place to sleep and a hot meal. Man, your priorities, like, there's some stories that I've been hearing and I've been told.
You know, Mallorca said we're out of cash. We've got nothing left. Because it turns out they've spent $1 billion on housing illegal migrants, right?
Right. You know, and I'm getting hot under the collar. I'm getting hot under the collar about this because to me, in a sane and just world, you would have bodies swinging from the trees with looter or FEMA, a sign around their neck that says one of those two things, and they'd absolutely fucking deserve it.
Well, yeah, I saw there was some looters in Asheville and they what was it? They were illegal immigrants looting in Asheville, and they said no, they're here legally because they filled out the app or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But the sheriff said you should be walking around with a firearm with the safety off.
You know what? When civilization gets washed away like that, it's Wild West rules. It's Wild West rules now.
Yeah, I mean, who's gonna? Well, I mean, why would you shoot the looter and throw him in a creek? There you go. They drowned.
Yeah.
Must have happened in the storm. Whoops.
Yeah.
But
no
I mean, Trump was mouthing off about it at his rally today with Musk, but they're not hammering. I mean, John
with Musk, you skipped over that part. Musk was at the
yeah.
Was he peddling Dogecoin?
In all black. He had a black MAGA hat, black jacket, black shirt, black trousers, black boots, like a real black, literally a black shirt. And so one's like, why would you go dressed like that? It's just.
Elon's on the spectrum.
Seriously, I mean, why not? If you're going to be standing next to Trump, why not wear a red MAGA hat and a suit and tie, right?
Who knows? They're both big ego guys. They're probably just want to stand out or something. I don't know. Maybe
that is weird, though.
Yeah.
But,
anyways,
yeah, I guess we're getting up on an hour. I guess we need to turn in and watch Weaponized News on Monday to hear.
Monday.
Hear if anything.
We're doing 6 days a week. Any day we have off.
I mean to tune in and hear if anything happened in Israel on the 7th. So
yeah,
but yeah, they're on. Go ahead and plug the whole show though.
So, I mean, I was really frazzled yesterday because I've been covering a lot of news. So Sam today has just been stitching together. Did you guys see? Because I know you read it regularly. The Council on Foreign Relations monthly magazine, Foreign Affairs.
Lost my issue in the mail, I think.
It got washed away. That's a shame.
Yeah.
So Blinken, Secretary of State Blinken, put in a 5,400 word bye-bye article, which was at literally like, we had to cut it in half because my blood pressure was so fucking high having read the first half of it on air. So I went over the course of our show on Wednesday and our show on Thursday. I read on air critiquing every single paragraph. So it took me like 2 hours to do that. 2 hours. And then on the 2nd of October, it was the 75th anniversary of China-Russian relations. So the Chinese put out a big statement, Xi did, and Lavrov put out a big statement, but his statement actually was published in Russia on the 3rd. So I was like, if the anniversary is the 2nd, why would you put out the statement on the 3rd? And it looked like what it actually was a response to Blinken's huge article that was half of which was attacking Russia and China. So it looked like Lavrov's statement, the first like 2 paragraphs were about, oh, we love the Chinese and happy 75th anniversary of diplomatic relations. And then the rest of it was just pounding the United States' attitude to Russia and China. So we then tagged that on. So the whole thing's going to be about 2.5 hours length in total. And Sam's putting that out either tonight or tomorrow morning. So that will be on weaponizednews.com. It's got a Nietzsche quote, it's got a new pic, and it's got Blinken playing Rocking in the Free World, the Neil Young song that he played in that basement bar in Kiev, went there. And then it's also got him playing the voodoo song about the Book of Revelations called Hoochie Coochie Man that he played at the US State Department.
That's the one where Hillary Clinton threw her panties at him after he got done, right?
Something like that, yeah. And but that song, if you actually go into the details of it, it is they freely admit it's about Book of Revelations.
Yeah, I saw you guys went through that on your show. That was
we spent
interesting.
Like an hour going through that, like 4 minutes long. Yeah, it's really shocking. And that was the 3rd voodoo song from Muddy Waters in like a series of like 5 of them or something. So there he's talking about, 7 hours and 7 days and 7 months and 7 years. And
Where's that 7 again?
There's the 7, right?
Yep.
That's why 7 is a big thing, because they say 7 days, 7 months, 7 years, right?
That would be the Jubilee.
And there's 7 angels blowing 7 trumpets, which break 7 seals. It's all 7.
Yeah, that's the Jubilee year, which was last year, if I remember correctly.
So, anyways, we've got both those songs, one at the beginning, one at the end. And it's the title of the documentary is Blinken's Swan Song.
Yeah, so everybody go check that out. That should be an interesting deep dive. We don't want to go and relitigate it here, otherwise
No.
Simon will have to go and take his nitroglycerin
2.5
pills.
hours. I mean, 5,400 words, right?
Yep.
So people understand that's 13 font size 12 single space type pages.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's real long, and we were stunned that he did that now rather than waiting until like the March edition after he's out of.
Well, yeah, because he's not actually out.
He's not out. Yeah, so it is jam-packed with what could at best be described as exaggerations. The rest of it's just flat-out lies.
And is he kind of hinting then that Harris is going to get rid? I mean, you wouldn't expect her to.
No, he's already said that he's not serving in a future administration.
Oh, okay.
So he's definitely gone. It's not clear what university he's going to be made a shaky bait full professor with tenure of, but he is leaving government service. And so is Sullivan. They both said they're not going to serve in a future Harris administration. So
she's probably got some DEI hired lined up.
Well, both of those guys are of the small hat faith. So maybe she can find some Ethiopian Jewish people to tick the box.
Yeah, speaking of people in a potential Harris administration of the tiny hat persuasion, I heard a rumor that they actually did approach that Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, and he turned them down. He
withdrew his name from consideration like a day before they announced Waltz, just so he wasn't humiliated.
Right. And I mean, that's
But in the administration, though, he's refused to work in the administration.
Well, why would you go
Is
for
that what you're saying, Hobbs?
no. I'm saying that they approached him for the vice presidential slot, and Simon says he
Oh,
withdrew
okay.
his name. He withdrew his name from consideration. Now, the thing about Josh Shapiro that is, I'm glad they didn't choose him because he's slick. He fancies him. He's a smooth political operator. He has that vocal inflection like Obama did, which is very focus group study tested, very sociologically and psychologically disarming. Like they've done studies on the way that Barack Obama structures his sentences, the thing that he does with his hands. Bill Clinton did that same point with your thumb thing. And the way that Barack Obama talked, it's almost like a hypnotic trance. Josh Shapiro does the exact same thing for the exact same reason.
He's much better off just going straight for running for president.
Yeah, and we brought this up on the show. Very rarely that a vice president or even somebody who was a vice presidential candidate goes on and does anything else. It's like a career ender.
Right, especially having the albatross of the sinking Harris administration, or not administration, but Harris campaign around your neck. So if Josh Shapiro was offered the VP slot and turned it down or withdrew his name from consideration at the last minute, that makes sense because being the second-hand man for an administration that's bombing as badly as Harris's campaign is doing right now would look bad on a 2028 run, which I think is what Shapiro's ultimate goal is.
I'm sure he's going to do that.
Yeah, the only two former vice president that won the presidency are Richard Nixon and Joe Biden. George H.W. Bush was a sitting vice president that became elected
what about
president.
Ford as well?
Ford doesn't say anything about Ford.
Ford was Eisenhower's vice president, wasn't he?
No. He was Nixon's.
Oh, yeah.
Well, but he became president when Nixon stepped down, though, didn't he? It might be an asterisk there. This is running after you. Yeah.
Then he won re-election as well.
Yep.
So there's four right off the bat. So I don't know, what website you're reading there, but it wasn't quite correct. There's at least four just in the living room.
All right. Okay. Well,
yes, it's Wikipedia. Who knows? Who knows who edited it?
Yeah. But anyway, so World War III may start on the 7th.
Yeah.
Simon will be broadcasting from a houseboat. After that,
maybe. I mean, I may not. If it rolls through directly here as the 3, God knows if they'll have. Even though I've got a generator, there may be no Wi-Fi
internet
signal, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Either way, keep us abreast of not only the current events going on in the world, but also your personal safety, because we do care about you.
Or you'll keep me in your prayers because you're a bit far away from doing anything else, I'm afraid.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So who knows? Dan may be looking to be co-host on Wednesday.
Let us know.
Anyway, it's been a pleasure. If people want to check out weaponizednews.com, there's an incredible number of we're putting out a documentary like every week, and they're 1 to 2 hours. I think the shortest one we've got is 44 minutes.
Great drive time listening.
Yeah, no, and they are just jam-packed with information and documents, and and when you say that, for example, but I often do read through it because sometimes the translations are terrible. We have to correct the syntax. Sometimes the translators, the volume is almost inaudible. So some of these key documents, we're just reading it out so that there is actually a clear English version that you can listen to as you drive to and from work and stuff. Because that's sometimes the best way of picking up the info, but you will be able to detect my blood pressure is like 180 over 150 for that. It was very, very, very galling seeing Blinken state how wonderful they are and how they've been so successful, literally being the leaders of the free world for the last 4 years.
Not
So
humble
great.
at
Check
all.
that out. So check that out, weaponizednews.com. Check us out, roads2liberty.com. Roads2liberty on Rumble, YouTube, Facebook. Facebook and YouTube seem to have us on a shadow ban. So if you can follow us on Rumble, do it there. And we will be back next week, Saturday, same time. And
Yep.
stay honky.